Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to welcome you this week, this morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're based, on Geospatial Digital Meetup. And today we have really big crowds joining the call. So we had over Mutu, this was the latest numbers are 1,166 people that registered for the event, which is really insane. But frankly speaking, not surprising. Not surprising because we are talking today about really cool stuff. So we'll be talking about an intersection of geospatial technologies and game engines, which is important not only for geospatial gamers, but actually for the entire industry, and it creates a lot of different use cases and a lot of different possibilities. And we'll learn all about this today. And the event is supported by Cesium. Thank you guys so much for supporting us, and it was a pleasure, Andy and Patrick, for working together on making this happen. This event is not for me or for Mutu, it's actually for you guys. So please make sure that you use it, make sure that you network, that you use chat actively, ask questions, discuss. So as a first exercise, we would like to ask you to share your name, where you're from or where you're based right now, and also your LinkedIn or Twitter profile. From our experience, this is the best way to network during the event. And your hosts today are Alex and Mutu. We are two founders of a blog called geospatial.com. If you don't know the blog, you're more than welcome to check it out. Geospatial is a geospatial community platform where we aim to connect geospatial technologies and geospatial startups and companies with the geospatial community. And actually, what's cool is that we are turning 10 this month. So it's been 10 years since we've been doing this. And for me, this is really an amazing, experience and even a surprise that we're here, that we've met so many great people. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. And now, Mutu, over to you.
Yeah, first of all, welcome everyone from my side as well. And like Alex said, we are 10, so this is our first event after turning 10, and we're really excited about the second decade of GeoAwesomeness. We have many wonderful things planned to bring the community together, and it all starts today, it all starts now. So you will see pop-ups, how you can join the team and how you can contribute to this community and to this platform. So really excited to work together with all of you guys. And when we say it's a community platform, we really do mean it. So one of the most important things for me and Alex is to what we call pay it forward. And with Corona now entering its second year, we know that the economy is under a lot of stress, and there are a lot of people who are also, finding it difficult financially. So we want to make a difference in a small way. We started this a couple of events ago, so you can go to the jobs board. There is a small pop-up on the bottom of your screen. Post an opening that you know about, or if you are looking for a job, just make a short announcement about yourself and what you're working on so that the rest of the community can contact you as well. Right. Before you guys joined, I was kidding with Alex that pretty much nobody is here to listen to me and Alex talk, but rather to listen to the wonderful speakers and the panelists that we have. And trust me, Alex and I can't be more excited for this conversation. So we're really, really excited to bring together such a powerful group of people. Sheshan, Nadine, Patrick, Sami, and Mark. These are all professionals with multiple years of experience doing really awesome work. So you're going to be talking to them. You're going to be listening to what they are working on. So yeah, I'm excited. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really, really excited. And before we start, I think it's important to talk about the playbook. It's very simple. This is your event. It's not your typical webinar where you sit and listen, or it's not your podcast where you don't interact with the community. So be active, ask as many questions as you want, network with the rest of the guys. You're here to learn something new, but also to network and expand your the entire breadth of knowledge that you have. And our next event is already in less than 10 days, so it's on the 6th of May. So you will see a pop-up on the below, so you can also join us there. Right, so let's come to the business end of things. So I hope that you are all settled in and very, very excited to start with the first presentation. So Alex.
Yeah, right. So right now we would like to welcome on our digital stage, Shazan. You can turn on your cam right now. All right, good to see you. So let me stop sharing my screen and turn off now. Start sharing your screen. Okay, everything works fine. So over to you.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Muthu. Great introduction, and really excited to be here today. Hello, everybody, and thank you for taking out the time for joining us today. My name is Shazan Mohammed. I lead product management at Cesium and led the launch for Cesium for Unreal. I'm really excited to give you a short overview of what Cesium does for those of us who may be new, and then dive right into a few minutes of demos. My goal is to give you a glimpse of the possibilities of Cesium for Unreal in bridging the gap between geospatial and game engines, and then just set it up for the amazing panel that we have to follow. So a quick introduction. Cesium started off as a web-based geospatial engine built on WebGL a decade ago. So quite the right timing with geo-awesomeness as well, and which was meant for high precision accuracy and a 3D geospatial globe from day one around aerospace to run visualization and analysis from space to ground, and now even underground and undersea. The Cesium platform enables end-to-end workflows for all of your 3D geospatial applications, from content pipelines to processes, your high-resolution 3D geospatial content, and combining that with global context that you get from Cesium's global curated data. And in addition to that, we of course have Cesium.js in Cesium for Unreal, the powerful GPU-accelerated engines for visualization and analysis. So the trend we've been seeing over the past few years is that 3D geospatial data is being gathered faster, for more cheaper, and in greater amounts, and at higher resolutions than we've ever seen before. We're capturing so much data that we almost don't, we almost need to process it faster and need tools for that. And our leaders at all of our companies and organizations, governments, want us to put this data to use to make critical and informed decisions. The challenge Cesium overcomes is making that heterogeneous data from a variety of sources and formats quickly and easily available in one engine as data fusion with the precision and accuracy that is required for these decisions. Cesium's philosophy is that because there's so much data and so much information coming in, it's really difficult for one single platform or one single data provider to have all of that data. So what Cesium does is using open standards and interoperability, working with organizations like the OGC, make it possible to have interoperability so that you're able to bring that into one engine. So Cesium has operated at the intersection of computer graphics and 3D geospatial throughout our history. Cesium has taken the best of technology in computer graphics and game engines and bring that to geospatial while pioneering pioneering new open standards like 3D tiles and GLTF to advance the industry as a whole on an open ecosystem built on interoperability. And that, of course, brings us to Cesium for Unreal and why we're here today. Cesium's plugin for Unreal Engine that enables 3D geospatial in Unreal Engine by enabling a high accuracy globe with the high fidelity rendering and visual realism of Unreal Engine. It's, of course, we released in true Cesium philosophy, we released as open source, so it's free to use both in commercial and non-commercial use. And we have been extremely excited to see all the work that's been done in the community and what's to come next. So within Cesium for Unreal, what we have is a 3D tiles runtime engine with LOD selection and caching that enables streaming of massive 3D geospatial content, either from the Cesium Ion cloud or on private networks that may be behind a firewall. Geospatial applications in Unreal Engine can get access to massive amounts of data from these platforms and create applications based on that. And with Cesium Ion, you get global data that we curate ourselves. So for Cesium for Unreal, we believe that we are advancing both 3D geospatial and Unreal Engine in both directions. With global scale and accuracy of real-world content and the ability to stream runtime content to Unreal Engine. And on Cesium platform, users also get access to content pipelines and processes that optimize those massive 3D models for streaming as 3D tiles. In the other direction, geospatial applications built using Unreal Engine get access to all of the decades of advancements that Unreal Engine has built in with the high fidelity rendering, physics, visual quality, simulation, and other artist-based tools like foliage, landscaping, water simulations, and a lot more. It also enables new devices like AR and VR to be added to that 3D geospatial workflow, like Quest and HoloLens. And with all the new content that's ever growing on the Unreal Engine marketplace, that's a great resource to build your own applications with realism and accuracy. So these are just some of the industry's use cases that we've seen coming from the community over the past 10 months since we announced that we'll be working on Cesium for Unreal. The applications of this technology are nearly infinite. This slide just captures a portion of those, and some of these we hadn't imagined ourselves, and purely coming from the community that, hey, something like education and culture or conservation can also be done using Unreal Engine and 3D geospatial. So with that, I want to jump into our demo. So I've prepared a very quick demo with help of our Cesium for Unreal team. And I'm going to hit F11 so that we go full screen. So what we have here is a high resolution photogrammetry model of Miami Beach captured by our friends at Aerometrics. This is streaming from Cesium Ion, and the data size, I believe, if I remember the number correctly, is around 20 GB. So this, as you can see, we can run around using the Unreal default mannequin character, which means that all the physics and other things also work. But you've seen this video before. A lot of us have shared this before with you. What's new here is I can enable this drone now, and I can fly as the drone around this entire Miami Beach photogrammetry. And as I fly up, you're going to see more and more data load in. And if I were to traditionally package this as a game, it would take hours and hours to download the whole data. But because this is streaming content, it's no different than like a YouTube video or watching a movie on Netflix, which is only streaming what you need. So this drone here is based on an Unreal Engine marketplace model that we've integrated. So as I said before, you can use all of those models with the physics here. And as I go here, one thing you can notice if I fly a little bit towards the water is that we've added a water simulation as well. And this is something that's that we're working on and should be active pretty soon. With Cesium World Terrain, you can procedurally add water to all the oceans and seas around the world. One other thing I would want to show here is the drone camera view. So not just seeing the drone as third person, but you can actually become the camera of the drone and fly around. So this is great for things like modeling and simulation, where you want to train pilots who are operating drones or flight simulator, like Sami might show later today in his tutorial. So I am going to come back and switch to a free roam mode, so that we are not just flying as the drone or as controlling a character, but actually flying through the scene quickly and accurately. So different use cases, different models, Unreal Engine and Cesium for Unreal support all of them. The other thing I can do is zoom all the way out so that we can see the entire globe. So you get the global context in a single level. There's no level switching between different parts of the world here. One other thing I'd like to show is Fly to Denver. This is again something, a tile set we've shared on social media before, the street level photogrammetry of Denver. So as the stream's in, what I'm going to do is I showed you a drone in Miami. This time I'm going to show you a car driving down the road. So for those of us who've played GTA, this should feel fairly similar. So now I can drive this car down the road, complete with interaction. I don't know if the sound is coming through, but there's definitely sound in my ear about the exhaust and stuff. I can switch to a first-person view as well and drive around it. And I can look around. So I'm going to exit the vehicle now. And maybe one last go into free roam mode to show you Denver from the sky and fly around the high resolution photogrammetry. This is also from our friends at Aerometrics, and we can go into this baseball stadium, fly over it, and the high resolution of street level data, of course, is of Union Station. So as we fly in, you're going to see it load the high resolution detail. So because I'm streaming this while I'm also streaming data from the cloud, this might be a slightly slower to load. Alex, how are we doing on time?
And 2 more minutes.
All right. So I want to just fly up a little bit and maybe fly over to the mountains to show the global context that gets added from all of the data that we stream from the cloud. So these are of course the Rocky Mountains that are around Denver. Great skiing location. So if you're looking forward to the summer, Miami Beach is the place to be, and of course as winter and the fall come around, Denver's the place to be for skiing. So I think that's all for my demo. I just wanted to set the stage and the context for the panel to come. So thank you for that. And if you have any interesting use cases or you want to do demos like this, please get in touch with us. We love to connect with the community. And if you haven't downloaded and tried Cesium for Unreal already, please visit the marketplace. It's free to download and try out, and we have a samples project there as well that should get you started very, very quickly. So thank you all for listening, and back to you, Alex.
Thank you so much for this. This was really, really interesting to see the engine in practice rather than on a lot of YouTube videos that I've seen that were recorded and shared across last 2 weeks. There are plenty of questions from the audience for you. So if you could basically start maybe answering online on the chat and sharing some resources, this would be awesome. There will be still space to ask questions to Shazam and to other participants and speakers today. So please, everyone, keep asking questions, and we will try to make sure that the questions will be answered either on chat or live. And now let me take on the slides, because we are starting the most interesting part of the event today. And I guess that this is what all of you were looking for. We'll have a discussion panel with Nadine, with Patrick, and with Mark. We've prepared about 11-12 questions to begin the discussion. But then we will also have plenty of time to get questions from the audience. So please feel free to ask any questions, and especially relevant questions, on the chat. And now I would like to welcome Nadine, Patrick, and Mark to turn on your cameras. I will turn off my camera here on the platform that we can display only 3 people at once. All right, we've got you guys. Really good to see you. So before we will begin the panel, let me maybe give you some time to introduce briefly yourself, just in a couple of words, and then we'll jump right into the questions. So Patrick, maybe starting with you.
Sure. Well, first, thank you once again for having us. I'm a big fan of Geo Awesomeness, and this is really, really amazing event. And thanks for everyone for attending. Really looking forward to questions from the audience. So as for me, actually, I wrote the first line of code for Cesium.js a little over 10 years ago. And it's a really special time for us in the world of Cesium now. With the Cesium for Unreal release, we've just seen unbelievable traction and so much creativity. So we're really excited to just be helping software developers just build these amazing experiences right at the intersection of the digital and physical world.
Be great to have you here, Patrick. We appreciate you being here. Mark, could you give us a short intro about yourself?
Sure. My name is Mark. From Epic, I run the engine business here. It's been 5 years that we're starting to take the engine beyond games. It's been an interesting journey. And my background prior to that, for 11 years, I was running the media entertainment division of Autodesk. You may know products like 3ds Max or Maya or Flame or Motion Builder. I did that. And in between Autodesk and Epic, I did a lot of sustainable mobility projects, electric vehicles, school buses, and a lot of stuff about trying to do good with technology. But I'm happy to be at Epic, where we even do better, I think, with technology to help this planet. So.
All right, Mark, really, really glad to have you here. I didn't know that you work in Autodesk, so you are actually, you know the stuff, you know the drill. There is, of course, a big debate always, GIS versus CAD, but we'll save it for other discussion.
Yes.
Nadine, really glad to have you here today. Could you tell us a couple of words about yourself?
Yes, so thank you again. I echo everything that Patrick said about your efforts in bringing the community together, especially this last year. And thank you for, my goodness, the 500 people who are on the line. I am Nadine Alamy, the CEO of the Open Geospatial Consortium, OGC. And I've been the CEO for the last 2 years, but I've been in Geo for the last 20 years. And my background is, I'm an MIT tech geek. So this is like a music to my ears when we have computer graphics and photogrammetry and remote sensing and gaming all coming together. And I seriously, I'm standing here like a proud mom of Patrick and Mark, or of Cesium and Epic Games, because they are both OGC members, and what they're doing here to me is what OGC is all about. So I'm just like, I'm so happy right now and thankful.
Well said.
Yeah, thanks, thanks, Nadine. And I guess that for anyone that is involved with geospatial industry, we don't need to introduce OGC, because I mean, you guys do so much for the industry and the standardization that, I mean, yeah, this is great stuff. All right, guys, so let's jump right into it. So let me begin with the first question to Mark. Epic Games is making a huge investment in making the Metaverse a reality. Can you explain Epic's vision for the Metaverse and why it is worth pursuing?
Well, first of all, I would recommend to anybody to hear this from the horse's mouth and go to SoundCloud and listen to the Metaverse presentation that Tim Sweeney gave a couple of years ago. I think it's very deep, and you would hear Tim talk in that presentation like he talks to us and his vision. And I don't think he has changed a lot over the past 2 years, except that, you know, after a year of pandemic, I think everybody kind of understands, you know, how much of our life is bound to be digital. And we've just come off of a year where all of our family interaction, social interaction, work interaction that happened online, and we've all crossed the Zoom fatigue and the fact that video is not the proper medium. So, you know, I think it's clear that immersive interactive, potentially, when it's comfortable for consumers, is going to be the way to do. So we look at the Metaverse. For us, it's a social platform, it's an internet platform, it's a commerce platform. So we're trying to build that. We think Fortnite is a good beginning for the Metaverse, but you know, we look at the Metaverse as something that has some important founding principles from our perspective, because we come off of 20 years of a mobile platform when we became the product, when our data, became the product, and we think that as we transition from the era of mobile to the era of immersive interactive and the Metaverse, it's a good opportunity to reset, the practices and the model in terms of privacy and business model. So, we look at the Metaverse, something that's real-time 3D social medium. It's about entertainment, it's about commerce, about everything. Openness is like core to everything we do. We love open source projects. We're not open source technically in Unreal Engine, but the source code is published, and we have a EULA that says that, we want to be paid for games and just for games. So very, very clear. Strong social component. We think that the Metaverse will evolve from exist already, like the Minecraft, the Roblox, the Fortnite. I mean, something that's going to pop up out of nowhere. So it's going to be incremental development and connection of those platforms. And what's really matters to us, it's, and that's why next week we're going to be in a big battle with the giant, is it needs to be fair to creator. And we want the economic model to happen on content that you purchase when you like it. Just like in Fortnite, there is no advertising. You buy the skins that you like, and you don't actually have to purchase anything to play the game. We think that this is kind of models, that we would like to be very strong on data privacy and very, very clear on the model and very, very fair with the creator. So that's kind of our vision of the Metaverse, and we're creating a platform, and it's a business proposal. It's not a philanthropic endeavor, but we do business with an opinion and with a certain sense of values that we do not compromise on, all the way to suing the biggest company in the world. So that's Tiffany.
Thank you so much for sharing this answer. And by the way, Patrick and Nadine, if you've got something to add, it also Mark, to like further answers, just please feel free to to do that. But let's jump to the next question to Patrick. How does Cesium fit into making the metaverse a reality?
It's a great question, and I actually think we've been working on the metaverse for a while, and we just recently realized that, and this has happened to us even in the past, where we started Cesium.js for aerospace, and then when we made it open source, right, we had the community tell us that it has lots more use cases outside of aerospace, whether that be entertainment, CAD, simulation, and so on. But when you think about the metaverse and having this two-way bridge, right, between the digital and physical world, well, you need to be able to make a digital twin of the real world. And if you think about modeling the globe and all the way down to every pebble, right, and all the sensors that are available today that's capturing that data and capturing that data over time, it's an incredible amount of geometry, of textures, of material. And then you start throwing AI and ML to generate semantics about that. And it's just a very massive world. And where Cesium is really making our contribution is in creating a spatial index that allows that world to be efficiently disseminated and streamed, so you can take that massive database and then you can eventually get something colored on your screen that is your view of that world. And we're doing this in a very open way by working with groups like OGC and Kronos to create open standards that help facilitate the transmission of these worlds. And then we're building open source visualization engines, as well as commercial platforms for tiling data and storing and disseminating data.
Thank you for answering this one. And now a question to Nadine. Since OGC is a consortium focused on open standards and location information for developers, how does this fit into the metaverse? And do standards matter when it comes to metaverse?
I have to start by actually thanking you for your question, but also if I can comment on Mark and Patrick's answers, which I love, because I hope the people on the line appreciate that when you asked Mark about the vision of the metaverse, he didn't roll through all the technical stuff. He actually started with the values. So thank you for actually starting with that, because it means a lot, from a consortium perspective that's representing the industry and the government and the academia. This means a lot. And same thing when I was listening to Patrick, I appreciated when he's really talking not about what he's done, but how he can make it easy for you, everybody here on the line. And again, I think this is why we're here together. There's this common theme, which is, I think, what we're trying to do. I hope that we're trying to do within the Open Geospatial Consortium. So to answer the question, if you want to remember one thing, the answer is yes. Standards matter. So at OGC, because we're a community of these global experts, and we've always been, I say, obsessed with making geospatial, now location information, findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable. The driver has always been, how do we help somebody solve their problem? And guess what? Pick any problem, right? I'm not talking geospatial. Pick any problem, right, faced by human people. It has to involve a lot of data, right? Because nobody has all the data. And the data comes from all these heterogeneous data sources. And yes, so traditionally, I'm going to the how does that fit? Traditionally, when you think about what we've been doing all these, 25 plus years, some people say even 50 plus years, right, is actually bringing this information together, making it easily integratable and accessible and just available, right, in what I call serious domains: defense and intelligence, science applications, emergency response, right? But isn't this also what the metaverse is all about? right? It's just this, now in 2021, we can get to that representation of this world. And that's, to me, is the metaverse. This is the two-way street. And to keep it real, right? Because we're talking about unreal. Even in the metaverse, or especially in the metaverse, you need to combine the data, you have it synced up. And guess what makes it all come together? The glue, that's the standards, right? So yes, standards matter, because if we want to build the metaverse in a scalable fashion, in an open fashion, and we want to support the innovation, I mean, just the questions from the audience, and the last 2 weeks since the release, we're gonna have to rely and agree actually together on the glue, so that we can all do what is really more important to us, either the impact or honestly just you know, the impact. I'll stop at that. Standards for impact.
Yeah, I think there's a nice theme between Mark talking about building a platform that's going to enable creators to be part of that ecosystem, and then Nadine, your work with standards, and that I always see just a hotbed of innovation form around the standards. And when we're so early, right, I think this is what you need, because no one's going to do it all, right? You need standards and you need platforms to enable everyone to build.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a complex relationship with standards. We love them, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge that the reason why people turn to a game engine to do like movies, you know, or games or an interactive application is that ability that the game engine has, you know, to represent all aspects of a fully simulated world and the story built into it. And that's going to be very, very hard to get the world to agree on standardizing those elements to make sure that you actually have an open representation of a fully simulatable world. That's why our best answer to this is to, you know, move as fast as we can with our technology, make it available as source code, and then, you know, support all of those standards like Cesium or USD or GLTF or you name it, and with big investment in open source to make sure that our platform remains open. But the key value of the game engine is that, you know, that integration of all the subsystems so that you get the real-time performance. And that's kind of a, you know, an opposite concept to a neutral file format, which is like a lowest common denominator construct most of the time, and is more of a laggard than, you know, a driver of innovation. And so, you know, so we love standards, but we also want to make sure that, you know, we keep on innovating in the domain of real time.
Yeah, so if Alex can humor me, Mark, you opened the door, the love-hate. To me, I think you're totally right. You both hit on, you know, what happens when we're doing things early on. And I think that's a message for all of us, and what we're trying to do as the OGC community is how do we develop standards at the pace of innovation? Because I think even what we talk about standards and the standards process is changing, just like what you guys are doing. And to me, I'm thankful for this, because I can talk for hours about standards, but seeing is believing. And just the demo that Shazam did earlier is seeing and believing. So appreciate it. It's not a done deal. I think what I take from the love-hate is actually we have a lot of work to do.
Really great answers. I guess that even the fact that we've got OGC and you, Nadine, kind of sharing the points on the discussion today, this really matters, that for gaming industry, the standardization really drives the innovation rather than closing the environment because of like maybe competitive thinking is not really going and driving anywhere. So really great to hear that. All right, so Mark, now again over to you. Game engines are famous for creating elaborate virtual worlds. How will the use of real-world 3D content, in our case we mean by this geospatial data, transform world building in Unreal Engine? How do you see this expanding use cases for the platform?
Well, I think that, again, the core capability of the game engine is that, we can aggregate content and play back content in real time from a lot of sources. And I think that means that the GIS data can be used now into a lot more context than before, because, pick your favorite 3D acronym, we have CAD, GIS, PLM, reality capture. I mean, the game engine is wide open to a lot of format and a lot of standards. So I think that's, that frees up everybody. It provides the context for everything. And we are a platform. It starts with the game engine, doesn't end with the game engine. You have to do something with it. You use your scripting language, you have an application, you want something that you want to do. We're a platform, we're not just an end user application. So what are people going to do when they can seamlessly integrate GIS and BIM and stuff? I mean, we've seen some amazing work already, and I think we'll see more. But it's up to you guys to figure it out. We're just creating the possibility. But the other thing that we care about, and Patrick touched on it, is, as we think about, cloud-based gaming, next generation console, and the amount of content that we put in games now, we create entire new worlds. The promise of the game engine is for transmedia production, like, in the same world, you create a game, you create a movie, and think about Avatar and Pandora, think about Star Wars and Tatooine. I mean, we want to be able to get those tools across the fence to people creating, worlds that do not exist, and have that ability to, to have visual quality movie. I want to drop a camera into Cesium and shoot a movie. That's the ultimate goal. We're not there, not quite there, but we will get there. And then, we need to add a layer of game stuff to add, the trash can in the street, and make it something that lifelike above and beyond the building. So we have a lot of complementary technology, but we want to have that photorealistic quality. And then we want to let people create stuff, but way outside of GIS, use that GIS construct to manage large-scale worlds and open worlds. So I think that's gonna, drive a lot of convergence. Create opportunity for people and create like games we haven't seen before or movies we haven't seen before. That's it.
Patrick, so maybe following up on this question with you. So I guess that you must have seen a lot of really interesting and, on the other hand, crazy use cases, and you guys must have thought about some really a whole portfolio of different applications. Could you share some insights on like the most useful and the most crazy examples of the use cases?
Questions for Patrick. He is the guy with the crazy ideas here.
Well, so first, look, I mean, working really closely here with Unreal Engine is really exciting to me personally, right? So in high school, I did a lot of game programming on my own, like way back with like QBasic and Turbo Pascal, and I thought that I wanted to go into game development, right? But then I realized, hey, I wanted to do graphics development in general, and now I'm starting to see this 180 where I'm like, well, geez, what is a graphics development? Or what is game development? It's this line is blurring here. In terms of the use cases that we're seeing, I mean, it really is this two-way connection in that we're bringing 3D geospatial into Unreal Engine, and then our core 3D geospatial community is now getting exposed to Unreal Engine, right? So we're seeing this kind of two-way collaboration and innovations on both sides. Some of the fun and crazy stuff we see is, we've already seen on Twitter and LinkedIn, Full Sail University picking up Cesium from Unreal and using it in their course, and having the carriages flying around the photogrammetry models, which I think has been really cool. We've seen a ton of work in the simulation world, and I think we're in store for an amazing demo at the end of this presentation from Sami in the flight sim world. And then we see a lot in AEC, where you have a city, it's photogrammetry, then you want to put in your future potentially built architecture model, or you kind of want to go backwards in history and, for example, recreate a flood that might have happened 50 years ago from a photograph. So, and I think we're very early, and we're going to keep seeing this like almost every day, definitely every week, but we constantly are seeing this. And for all the folks in the audience, please, if you're doing something cool, or you even just have an idea, I mean, drop it in the chat, send us a link to what you're posting on social media.
I don't know how,
No, I think when we talk about crazy, the examples that Patrick mentions, and seriously, the buzz on Twitter just from the release, this is 2 weeks, reminded me of when, remember when Google Earth came out, right? And, you know, we've been doing that, whatever that is, right, for years, but then Google Earth came out, and all of a sudden, it sparks, because again, seeing is believing, it's like all these opportunities, and that two-way, I'm gonna hit actually, Mark, on use case that you mentioned, because I think it's really big. It's the digital twins. It's the urban digital twins. And that's why I appreciated Shazam and his demo. He kept going back to the physics model. This is not fake. This is not a game. This is actually based on models. And I think this is where our power is, because we've got the hydrology model. I mean, he had an ocean model, and we have an air model, and we have all of that. And to bring it all together, that's the crazy. That's where we're still, I think we haven't seen the crazy.
I agree. And I think on May 5th, we have, we have an online presentation on digital cities called The Pulse. And I think it's going to be an interesting presentation to illustrate around digital cities. Like we have the entirety of Wellington in the engine, the city of Wellington. And I think that's the starting point. You know, once we create, when the data is there, you still have to write the application and do something, do the analysis that you need to do. It's not just about creating some beautiful representation of the existing data. It's about enabling analysis, enabling simulation, enabling presentation.
Yeah, thank you for this for these answers. And I mean, when I think about different crazy applications, so Nadine, you said that you've got 2 boys. So I guess that if you would let them build their works and finding the different applications and use cases, we would all be very surprised by what they would create, because this is really like giving a lot of space for unleashed creativity. All right, so Patrick, this is, I guess, a really very important question towards the core of the philosophy of Cesium. So you've decided to release Cesium for Unreal free and open source. So why do you think this is the right move?
You know, we put a lot of thought into this. So if you just think about the metaverse, right, and you know, the metaverse is really, it has the potential to be the impact of the internet, right? If you go back 30 years ago and you think about the internet unfolding, I mean, you need to spark collaboration, you need to spark innovation, and we think doing open source and making that source code available and allowing communities to form around that, to submit bugs, to submit pull requests, even just to have access to the code to help them debug, we think it's a great move, right? Now, at the same time, you know, we have to run a business, and our business is growing very quickly, and we want to make sure that we can build something that's sustainable and ultimately scalable. So you look at, okay, well, how do you fund that open source? So we didn't want to give away everything that we're doing as open source, because it actually creates this kind of inverse incentive to not make your open source components as good as possible, right? So we've done the whole visualization layer on top of Unreal as open source, Apache 2.0 license. And then we use what's called an open core model. And then we create separate optional value add software here in the form of cloud and on-premise services to tile your 3D data and then to serve 3D content that we've curated, such as terrain and buildings that's ready to use. So it creates a very fair model where we compete on the merit of our products, not on any type of vendor lock-in. And we use, no surprise here, open standards, right, to have our open source products or projects communicate with our commercial products.
Good move.
Yeah, I think Patrick, you described it so well, because you know, how do you balance, being a profitable or even a sustainable business with being open? And I think what's happening here, that's why, we're waiting on the crazy, because this group is the enabler for the innovation. And that's the value proposition in this case. And what you guys are doing are essentially collaborating to compete, or collaborating so that other people compete, so that we all grow that pie. I think that's what I hear. Just growing the opportunities based on the combination of open standards and open source.
Well said.
And as I was telling Patrick just before the event started, this is really also inspiring approach. So I guess that this is really the move that will have a lot of followers in the industry. So this is really awesome. Nadine, another question is for you. From collaborator and innovator perspective, how does gaming fit into the bigger picture of location? Where have you seen this technology applicable, and where is it going?
So I'm smiling big time, because this is reminding me of our prep call when Mark said I could spend the whole hour on this. So, so Alex, you mentioned, so it's the perspective of collaborator and innovator, but it's also a perspective from a mom. You mentioned, I have two boys, ages 9 and 13, and I call them video game experts, because I don't want to say addicts. Okay, so they're experts, but they generally spend more time in the metaverse than with me. I think it's a fact, and now their school is even, virtual. So how does everything fit together? Because exactly how Mark started, everything fits together right now, because we're living in a virtual world. But on the serious end, because the previous question about the use cases is the same thing, where we keep, I think, increasingly appreciating that everything happens in space and time, and that's geospatial, and that's how it's coming back all the time to location, right? And the cool, things that I can dream about is being able to take my son on college tours without actually going there, because my goodness, if we can fly around, how cool is that? And it's real, it's not a fake, right? Or even real estate people showing houses during the pandemic. How cool if you can actually navigate from different perspectives, and it's not pictures that you have right now. And somebody on the chat mentioned underground. That's like a whole area. Can you imagine? I mean, that's why we're working so hard these days on an underground data model, because the energy pipes and the water pipes and the phone pipes and everything underground, I'm not the expert, but it's still siloed, and we have to bridge that gap so that you can actually navigate underground. And that's where I think, when Patrick talks about the standards, it's like there are several steps way before you get to the amazing demo that Shazam did, right? So I will end with 2 examples, I think, where this is going, the impact, right? One is I mentioned the urban digital twins. So this is helping with urban planning. I mean, imagine we see exchanges and events around, if we put more green space, what happens to the community. But imagine seeing that, because you can play with the time. Imagine seeing how it improves the air quality or reduces cost of childcare because people can go to the park, or they change their mobility patterns because they want to go to the park. Just seeing that. So that's an amazing example, I think, which is, I think, honestly, low-hanging fruit. We're not that far. The one that's the dream is the climate understanding, right? So imagine doing this at a global scale. That's why, again, I appreciated the physics, the model. Because if we have all these models, and we sort of have the expertise, imagine starting to track and understand climate change from a local level. So if you make a decision, about, a decision in a county or a country, and how it affects us globally, and vice versa, how something global goes all the way down to the local, as to maybe influencing how much we pay for gas, or how much we pay for any consumable. That's, I think, where eventually it fits all together, and it's all happening in space and time. And in some ways it's simple, but actually it's very, very complex.
Thank you, Nadine. So let me ask another question to you, Mark. Because this is really important from the geospatial industry perspective. So what will game engine technology contribute to the geospatial industry?
Okay, so there's a few layers to that. The base sensor is a high-quality presentation layer for your data with photorealistic rendering. UE4 gives a lot of capabilities. As you heard about, UE5 is going to deliver that. And then when you start adopting the engine as a platform, you can deliver your projects across a lot of other platforms, like hardware platforms, like mobile and the cloud and pixel streaming and Linux and everything, and a lot of other fancy systems like game console that you may not care about, but other people do care about. The other thing is it's an aggregation platform. I said ingest and combine a lot of data. And we do this in two ways. One is we fully support open standard like GLTF or USD or 3D tiles or FBX or Alembic, but we also have our data mesh architecture that allows us to make sure that we get the right data, and we're not at the mercy of a vendor. Like if you want to import a BIM file, we don't want to be at the mercy of whatever people write in an open format. So we have connectors to a lot of CAD and PLM systems, a lot of other systems to make sure that we have a metadata-rich environment. Then it's a game development, it's an interactive development application. Whether you use Python or use blueprints, you can create an interactive application. You have UI, you have physics, you have a bunch of things available for free. You have C++ programming. You can integrate it to the library in your application. You can create mobile apps. It gives you, once the data is in real, it gives you a lot of platform. The other thing is around collaboration. The engine supports multi-user editing. It's not something you usually find in desktop software. Collaboratively, people around the planet as we speak are designing movies or games in the Unreal Engine. And the output application that you put out, like what Shana was demonstrating, can be multi-user as well. This is a core of a game. It's it's not a game is never a solitary experience. And then we connect a lot of the technology like TwinMotion. It's a very easy, simple tool to use that allows you to, it's the easiest way you can have to tap into the power of the Unreal Engine to aggregate data, and then you can move that data across to the engine. We recently started to work with the reality capture team from Capturing Reality in Slovakia, because we're a strong believer that we can improve the photogrammetry pipeline. As you have probably seen the quality of our Quixel mega scans, and we want basically any one of you to be able to produce that level of quality, the multiplicity of those formats, all those LODs, and really make it practical to go and scan everything in the planet and bring it into the Unreal Engine, through Cesium or through other mechanisms. So it's a complete ecosystem, to create a digital twin of the planet and to create the application that's going to leverage this data, plus all the world of fantasy that we do in entertainment. But it works for that too. So it's a number of things, and it's free. There's no catch. Our business model is based on the fact that for people like you, we don't market the tools. We sell support contracts. If you don't want to do it on your own, we're happy to support you, but you would have to pay for that. We only collect, a modest revenue share on games. That's our business model. It works fine. Source coded on the internet. It's very open. We are a very, very successful business. We don't need to lock people into our data or overprice the software to make a great living. So we're very, very happy to be able to run the business this way.
Can I add to Mark? Oh my God, you're very inspiring, Mark. Appreciate it. I can't stop myself, so we'll have to stop us. When I hear you talk about how will the game engine technology contribute to the geospatial industry, all I'm hearing is actually it's almost like you're gonna force us to work together more closely so that we can actually build the metaverse, or it will never get there because then you'll have to build all these connectors. And so what I'm hearing is it's actually you have that environment where where somebody can bring the pieces together. And now you're saying you have no excuse. I'm seeing the climate change also chat on the chat. It's like, no, and you have no excuse. Do it. And that's what I'm hearing that you can bring to the geospatial industry, actually, and beyond. It's all on you. It's like, no.
It's clear that the raison d'être of the Unreal Engine is to create a pathway for the metaverse. I mean, we have this vision for this, this social and entertainment and commerce platform, and can be used at work as well. It's not going to be the only one, but of course, the engine is going to be the pathway into this, and we want to eliminate friction for all the digital cities and for the planet. For that people can enjoy the planet in that platform. What they do with it's entirely up to them. The kind of application you do with it, whether you try to have fun and have games, or you do something very serious, like you mentioned, around explaining, doing visual communication about complex phenomena that drive to climate change. All that stuff is 100% up to the people. And that's why we want to be creator friendly and very open. It's the base of what we're trying to do is build a momentum around that platform.
Yeah, then if I could just add a few comments talking about what Unreal Engine brings to the geospatial industry. So, I've described it internally at Cesium and, on social media that when we released Cesium from Unreal Engine, I really feel like we made 10 years progress overnight, right? When I look at anything from the volumetric clouds to the water effects, I know, and Cesium knows exactly how much work goes into building those type of presentation layer features. And there's been, I guesstimate billions of dollars of investment in game engine technology and its ecosystem. And now that's unlocked, right, for us to build geospatial applications. And we've, game engines were historically for games, virtual made-up worlds. We've now added the precision layer, right? So global scale, WGS84, ellipsoid, mesoscale streaming, accurate, the same accuracy that we put in Cesium.js, the same accuracy that we had in the aerospace software at AGI. So I really think it's a remarkable tool chain and platform for all broadly across geospatial.
So much for the answers. Let's maybe now jump more into specific technology. So let me maybe fast forward one question here, and let's look into the 3D tiles, right? So we understand that 3D tiles, and this is a question to you, Nadine. We understand that 3D tiles, a standard built for streaming massive amounts of 3D data, is a community standard originally created by Cesium. But why is interoperability important for creation platforms like Unreal Engine?
So first of all, I have to give full credit to Patrick and his team for 3D tiles, for actually not only seeing the future, right, in 3D tiles, but seeing how much bigger of an impact, we were just talking about this, how much bigger of an impact it can have if it's an open community standard. And it's win-win, right? I think on so many levels, and a great success story in developing standards at the pace of innovation, and making the pie larger, in creating a platform for innovation. So I can go on. But in this case, when I look at, again, I mean, I appreciate we started with a demo because it sort of grounds us. So when I go back to the demo and how we were talking about streaming, I mean, it looks so simple, but it's so complex behind it. We were streaming, Shazam was streaming massive heterogeneous data sets in the back end, right? That's what we're talking about here. How do you get what you need, just what you need as tiles from the data sets across data sets? That's the interoperability. So you don't have to do it one by one, right? Because we all know that the developers, that's not where they want to spend their time on, right? So we get the basics for them. That's the streaming, that's the performance, so that they can get to the meat of the applications, of the decisions, and really help us with all the problems that we're talking about here. So the interoperability becomes just agreeing on how we're going to do the basics so that we can thrive on it. Helps?
Definitely. And yeah, I'm totally agree, and I guess it's Patrick and Mark as well. So let's just take one last question,
Alex,
from my end.
Yeah,
and
okay.
then we will move to the questions from the audience. So Patrick, just wanted to ask you, now that we have 3D tiles in the real world inside game engines, what is the next for 3D tiles?
Yeah, I'll be brief, right? So we built 3D tiles to be able to stream massive heterogeneous 3D geospatial data sets, including the geometry and the materials and the metadata that gives you kind of the semantic meaning behind it. Is you're on the side of the building, right? What's a brick versus what's a window? And we're just seeing more and more semantic metadata being created, right, for 3D models, largely due from AI and ML algorithms. And one of the things that we're doing to move forward to 3D tiles specification is to be able to store that data at a variety of granularities, so we can very efficiently store that at a very fine grain of detail. And I think, you know, semantically augmenting these 3D models is going to be a huge advancement for us.
So much. So now the actual fun begins. So let's start taking questions from the audience. Mutu,
All right.
Following the chat, so over to you.
Thank you very much. First of all, thanks a lot to all three of you for being focused on the questions here and not being distracted by all the questions and the nice conversations that are happening in the chat. But now is the time for you guys to answer some of the questions that the audience had. And let me start with a question that Leo sent us yesterday. And I found this question so interesting and also timely because we just had the Oscars. No idea who won. Don't want to know. Don't spoil it. But what happens if we use the Cesium for Unreal engine in movies? How do the licenses work? And if I win an Oscar, do I have to share it with Patrick and Mark?
What about me?
Yeah, I think to answer that last question is definitely yes, and we would love to be on stage. So we're, you know, in terms of the Cesium for Unreal release kind of opening up our eyes, we are seeing a lot of interest here, right, in being able to use the real world models that Cesium can stream to make movies. And we're just now starting to understand kind of the downstream data licensing requirements for that. So I would really need to hear a little bit more. I would love for this person here to contact myself or Shazan, because we want to make this use case work. We think it's a really amazing idea.
How do you see this, Mark? Do you share Patrick's opinion that you are fine with just getting the Oscar, or do you also want the big money?
Yeah, I mean, the data licensing is an open issue. I think, you know, right now when you shoot a movie in the city, you have to obtain an authorization, which is some form of license. And I think all of those practices, which are very diverse actually and not standardized at all, will apply in the digital world. And I think we all are going to have to learn how to live with it, you know, how to live with it. But certainly, it is not something I would overlook right now. I mean, you know, the OpenStreetMap data doesn't have a lot of content into it. I don't think anybody will have trouble using OSM data, but as we get, you know, with photogrammetry and much more detailed representation of buildings and brands and stuff, we will, yeah, it was something that we're going to have globally to figure out. And the IP owner, we're going to have to decide what they want to do with their IP, you know?
Yeah.
You know, what do we do with the games headquarters? Somebody wants to fly a drone and scan it, and can they put this in a game? I mean, it's kind of up to us to decide, and I think the legislation will have to adjust a little bit as well. So,
I think, Nadine, you have an answer as well, and I guess it doesn't involve you getting Oscars.
I will go to the party. No, but it's just occurred to me, actually, it's because it's not a far-fetched idea. And not, I mean, I'm thinking, I know an Oscar winner, right? And he is, used to be with a company called Pixia, an OGC member, and he was the editor of the WAMI spec, the wide area, wide area imagery spec, and it actually won an Oscar. So I mean, this is not crazy what we're talking about here. This is definitely, and this is how amazing what we do in geospatial for the serious stuff. Eventually it translates into entertainment where you get the awards. So that was my contribution. It's actually, we have Oscar winners amongst us already. And, I'm looking again at the chat. It looks like next year I'll be getting some invites.
Sounds like a plan. All right. So I have to admit that we have a ton of questions, but with an eye on the time and also not to overload you guys too much, I will go through a couple of them in random order. So for those of you whose questions are going to get left out, please don't worry. I will follow up with Patrick, Mark, and Nadine to make sure that they answer it. So here goes for the first question. And I love this question, actually. So we've been talking about game engines. We've been talking about geospatial. And I'm going to start here with Mark. So which industry do you think has the more potential to evolve the other? Do you think it's going to be game engines changing the way we engage with geospatial data and systems? Or do you think it's going to be the other way around?
I think we are amazed to see, every time an industry embraces the game engine, what they can do with it. So I actually don't know how to answer this question because I think, we feed off of each other. I mean, gaming is, in real-time 3D, it's the beginning. I mean, we're very used to digital video as a medium. It's the super early days of a real-time 3D as a medium. This is going to get, such an integral part of all of our lives in the foreseeable future as soon as we get that hardware we'll be waiting for. So I think it's, it'll be, I don't know who's going to influence each other, but I know it's going to be part of everybody's life at home and at work, guaranteed.
What do you think, Nadine?
I agree. I think we, and by we, I'm of geospatial, right? I think we are definitely opening a lot of worlds, for the gaming, right? Because it's not anymore restricted to gaming. Just the simulation, honestly, on the defense and intelligence, side of things is just the whole world. And we see on the chat the AAC stuff, and again going all the way to climate understanding. But I also hear Patrick, and I was nodding my head. When he said, what is it, overnight we made progress because of you in the geospatial industry of about 10 years? True. So I'm agreeing, it's both ways, and it's both ways quick. So it's not going to take 5 years for us to see. It's actually really quick.
Patrick, let me guess, your bet is on the geospatial industry changing the gaming?
No, I agree with Mark and Nadine here, and I think the line is blurry, right? Am I a geospatial developer? Am I a game developer? Or am I just a developer, right? I think that it's becoming blurry, and that's a good thing.
Fantastic. Speaking of developers, and I guess all three of you have some programming experience, so here comes a question that for me at least is a bit in that direction. With all of these 3D models and this wonderful integration of real world into gaming engines and vice versa, do you see this as a bottleneck in terms of what we can handle with our GPUs?
Well, this is where you get to have smart engineers on your team because, first of all, we the acceleration of Moore's law has actually been beaten. Jensen Huang has been this case many, many times because the hardware gets more powerful. We're talking about, high-speed networking everywhere. So I think the hardware platforms are going to be amazing. But, then, with some proper engineering, with visual texturing and with Nanite, with the virtual geometry system, I think we can, we have line of sight on the moment when we can process in real time infinite amount of geometries. And that's, at the end of the day, that's that simple. I don't want to be very cocky about it. We have a lot of people spending a lot of time to make it work. It's not going to work on the first try, but I think, You know, we think we know how we can process the kind of level of details that we need to produce something that's photorealistic. And there was a question in the chat about, you know, using procedural techniques. 100%. I mean, you know, capture is only one thing, but you need to add a procedural layer on top of it. You know, when we do reality capture now, we know the machine knows what the image are for. The machine can say, this is a forest, this is a road, this is a car, this is a building. You don't have to use the people geometry on every single thing you can do. So I think it's, you know, we have a bright future with machine learning by mixing 3D reconstruction and people geometry and synthesis and all the things we've been doing in video games for the past 25 years, actually. So we understand those things and populate gigantic environment, you know, very, very easily in a way that's, you know, first plausible to sensors and maybe plausible for humans.
Nadim? Yeah, sure.
Can I add to that? Yes. So I just want to add that it's a great question. It's a timely question because we are talking about this exponential growth. And to me, this is why I see within the OGC community, we have now players like HP, like Intel, you know, and you know, NVIDIA is doing a lot. So I think this is why we're literally all coming together. This is the push, like, you know, so we reach, and now we need the chip manufacturers and the designers, the engineers, like Mark said, to take us to the next level. So you totally can see where this is going.
Patrick, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say, you know, Cesium exists, and, you know, my entire career exists because of this question, right? And I completely agree with Mark in that the GPU performance is unbelievable, that adding procedural on top of the scan world is very compelling. At the same time, the user expectations is growing very quickly, where they expect these photorealistic scenes, and then the scale of the worlds are increasing and the detail that you model. So I think the core techniques that we're working on around streaming, level of detail, compression, polling, all of those smart engineer stuff that Mark is saying, that there's still years and years ahead of us to keep pace with the amount of data being generated, and then that user demand.
All right, fantastic. So that kind of leads me into the next question. You set it up rather well. So the demand for things are always increasing, and people are already bored with your Unreal Engine 4. So we want to talk about Unreal Engine 5 already. I know it's only been a couple of weeks since you guys released it. So take a breather. We don't want you to do it tomorrow, but we definitely want you to do it like
wow, so the nods were the yeses.
So the question was yes. If you can use nanite technology to reconstruct 3D cities together with geolocation. Can we do it in Unreal Engine 5?
Eventually you will. So we're still working on UE5. You know, we announced preview for the spring. Spring has only started; it's not finished. So look at the leaves, and you know, it's about to come. It's a very, very ambitious endeavor. The nanite and Lumen actually providing like that amount of complexity and that real-time photo, you know, GI. But you know, you'll see already a lot of it. But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, this is the kind of thing is you don't get 100% right on the first release, and so we'll make it work over the next, you know, months and next couple of years. But yes, the short term, we will see that come fairly soon, in my opinion.
Okay, then let's maybe take one more question. I know that you guys are a bit tired, so humor me for one more question. I promise it's the last one, and this is a bit of a philosophical one, I guess. So what are your views on the Metaverse? Is it similar to a cryptoverse, decentralized land, cryptoverse, the sandbox?
Wow.
I have to be honest, I probably have to Google most of these terms after the event, so you are on your own for this one. Nadine, do you want to go first?
I can give you my answer is whenever there is, you know, crypto in a sentence or NFTs, I just move to the next one. I think it's just like, sort of, you know, hugely undefined concepts. I mean, we know we're going to have VR in the virtual world, but right now there are a lot of scammy concepts that revolve around those things, and I tend to stay away from them, to be honest.
What about you guys? Do you agree with Mark? Do you see it differently? I mean, on a personal level, I don't understand it, so I don't invest in any of the NFTs and the cryptocurrencies. But how do you see this? You know, is the metaverse going to have a marriage with the?
I think everybody's mesmerized with the chat. Like seriously, this is the best chat I have seen. Because you can totally tell, right? Go, please.
Well, yeah, I'm probably not the right person to talk crypto, but I did like what Mark said much earlier here about the metaverse is going to enable creators, right, to monetize their content, right, doing that as opposed to, for example, putting up a bunch of banner ads, right, and I think that's a really enriching and compelling place, and then there will be the technology underlying kind of the distribution of those goods and the monetization of those goods, which I guess is maybe related to the question. Maybe, Mark, that's something that you might want to tell us more about.
Maybe, yeah, Mark, go ahead.
No, I mean, and I was reading another, comment on crypto and decentralized finance and general ledger technology. I mean, we don't even know if it's really scaled. So will those things play a role? Maybe. But we know the principles. We don't quite know how we're going to implement that. Right now we use, good old payment systems. And I think that's what, we'll do whatever consumer want us to do. At the end of the day, that's whatever is going to be the mainstream solution. And what we care about is not to, as you know, not to overcharge, and like grab an undue piece of the pie because you're the guy providing the payment system. So we don't have any strong opinions on what is going to be the implementation of those ideas, but we're very, very strong on our values and ideas on the things we want to see and don't want to see. In our own corner of the metaverse, I mean, there will be multiple corners in the metaverse. On ours to be, as you said, fair to creators and fair to consumers.
Okay, maybe one parting question from my side, and I mean, all three of you've done incredible work in the last couple of years, and especially now with this Unreal Engine. But is there maybe one thing that you feel and hope and wish that the industry understands better?
So is it just me? Or did
Nadine, can you hear us?
So Alex or Muthu?
Guys, can you hear me, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess it's you can still hear me. If you can hear me, then yeah, perfect. So like I was saying, is there a specific aspect that you wish that the audience and the general public who are using your APIs and engines understood better? Is there one misconception, one engineering challenge that you wish people appreciated?
It's a really good question. Yeah, I think you caught me off guard. I don't know. I mean, so one thing is we're big on, education, right, as the way that kind of we bring our products to market. And, we really love folks to jump in, right? And we give tutorials and video tutorials so that you can, you can try it out in 30 minutes, right? So we encourage folks, if you think there's potential, and you're not sure, just dive in, right? It's fast and easy to get started. Yeah,
give it a spin. I mean, it's all out there, for the taking on the internet. And I think be curious and experiment. I think it's, we're hearing how, 65-year-old cinematographers are downloading the engine and learning how to design their movies. And it was something we heard yesterday. It was an amazing thing that, people who are curious can actually see all the value from it. So I think that's the thing. Give it a spin. There is no catch.
All right, that kind of, you guys really set me up. So Nadine, if you can still hear me, I guess.
I can't hear. I think so. I have no idea what the question is. I will agree with Patrick and Mark.
You just agreed to transfer €1 million to all of us. Okay, I'm really sorry about that, Nadine, but I will try to get you on another date. But you guys really set us up very well, because what you said was just go out there and try it out for yourself. And in that spirit, I'm really excited that we have our next speaker, Sami, who did exactly this. So he built a flight simulator in less than an hour. His words, not mine. And he even published a blog on it, on GeoAwesomeness. So thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Nadine. Thank you very much for spending time with us. And now I guess we will have some cool demos.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This was really awesome discussion. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So Sami is going to be
thanks, Patrick. Thanks,
something.
Mark. Thanks,
so
guys. Mr.
guys,
Alex.
be.
Thanks, Nadine. Thanks, Mark.
Sami, do you want to come on the stage?
Yeah. See me or hear me?
So, no pressure. I know you did an awesome job of the flight simulator. I enjoyed the video on YouTube a lot. So tell us more about it.
I will, definitely. And then, sorry about this camera. It's getting dark here in Helsinki. It's 9 p.m. here. So because of darkness, the camera goes a little bit like blur once in a while. Yes, please let me share my screen. There we go.
Okay, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, can you see this starting image? Good. So thanks, Mark, Patrick, Nadine, Cesium, Mutu, and Alex about this. It's awesome you guys enabled this all that I actually almost by mistake did within an hour. And so I promise I'll be quick. I'm gonna tell you how I actually did it, what I did, and why I actually did it. And yeah, so briefly about myself, I used to work last week still in a company called Zoan. We create lots of crazy stuff on top of the Unreal Engine, like visual concepts, all that kind of stuff, and being talk about Metaverse to our customers and trying to take that further. And I've been working in mobile industry in Nokia and different media companies as a kind of a service designer, fast prototyper, being like a evangelist for extended reality stuff and all that stuff like back in the days. And I kind of I'm not here talking for the current company that I'm currently working in. That's a company called as Prant. It's a kind of a boat manufacturer and house of kind of brands. But instead, I'm here talking this case in name of my own company, NetFreak. So yes, I've been using Unreal Engine for the past, I don't know, 5 years, and I find it really good to that's the kind of tool that I can express myself easily. I love to do R&D. I love to do prototypes for our customers to really try out cool and crazy stuff, like in almost kind of a concept of overnight demos. And then when we have talk with customers, and next day we have something up and running, and they're like, wow. And that's the kind of a best-selling tool that I can imagine. And I'm mostly using blueprints. I really love them. I know how to code, but I nowadays prefer staying with blueprints only. It all started like back in 2017 in Helsinki. We had to create. We wanted to create something cool and awesome for like really create some kind of a hype around this one product, and we create this kind of a virtual simulator that you were actually sitting in this very same boat that we modeled, and then you were able to actually touch while you were wearing your Vive headset, and that's how it all started a couple years ago, and it has evolved over the years, of course. About that maybe some other day. But under this kind of a name of NetFreak, I've been creating crazy stuff a lot, and it's usually when I had this day job and so on, I did those things as a kind of a CTO role. But then when I stopped that, I started to do my own stuff, and that like lasted until like 1 a.m. and we're just posting those things to my friends and etc. So coming to this case about Cesium. So me and my friends, we're big gamers. We love gaming, and as I had this kind of background of doing fast prototypes using Unreal Engine, I wanted to create a multiplayer game for for our game client while we're waiting actually for the next version of the Battlefield game. And I wanted it to take place here in Helsinki in real life size. That I wanted to create our homes that we're actually able to like fight against each other. There's a different kind of aircraft and satellites and missiles and whatnot. But the kind of a challenge here was that they how to click the next one. There was that they City of Helsinki and National Land Survey of Finland, they are maintaining this kind of open source database for lidar measured 3D OPG files. And I was able to easily download all the stuff and put it to the Blender, maybe clean it up. And I wanted to have the kind of real life landscape terrains and stuff. And so I used grayscale TIFF images of combined kind of land height data. And that thing I convert in Photoshop and then I import to Unreal Engine. So all this actually required lots of kind of pre-production in Blender and Photoshop to put all this together. What you're seeing here in this video, it was cool and nice, but it was very heavy and a slow process, and the Earth was flat. But then what happened, like almost instantly after that, I was following the Unreal Engine Epics News and Community Spotlight video or that kind of event, online event. And then I realized that there is actually this upcoming new thing coming out in Unreal Engine 4.26 called as Cesium that actually takes all those challenges away from me, like how to manage tile loading, caching, loading only that stuff that I need. And the one key kind of a challenge that I have over the years with 3D or AR things was like how to convert real life latitude longitude to Unreal Engine units and then have this kind of metaverses glued above each other. So it was inbuilt into this plugin. And I was like, wow. And what was the best thing and ruining flat Earth society's dreams was that Earth was actually round. If I zoom out, you can actually see that, okay, it's a real deal, it's round. And what I actually did then, I once the Cesium plugin and the thing was there to be downloaded from the Unreal Engine marketplace, I did that, and I migrated my previously created aircraft to this one. That's it. And really, I have screenshots here. So what I did, of course I have the Unreal Engine installed. I searched for Cesium, download both of these. They are free, by the way. And I created a new example project using this Unreal Engine Cesium plugin example. And then I used this very nice plugin or kind of template for aviation called as Easy Flight Model that I used to use previously. And then having these two, Cesium and this plugin, I just put them together. And that it was. I didn't even realize that there's some kind of an option or kind of maybe need to authenticate myself to Cesium Cloud. I only realized that afterwards. I didn't read even a single line of manual how to do this. I just like started to drag and drop things here, and then there it was actually. That's it. And I wrote a blog about that I did this within an hour, but I guess it was actually less than that. I edited, I shot a video, edited that, and that took like 1 hour. And then I posted on LinkedIn, and it had like 20,000 views. That was totally like going totally out of my hands because it was so easy. And I actually realized that the season actually in the beginning of the session, he did actually just the same thing that I did. So this is actually now the kind of the real deal. You have the access to the YouTube video in the latter slides here. But this is Helsinki now here, and in this case, I used Oculus Guest 1 via this link cable that I can actually run heavy PC VR stuff on Oculus Guest, and then I I did the thing, and there it was. It was nice. And let me go forward from here. So where to go from here? This enables all kind of different things. This enables, like, of course, because I think from the business B2B side, there are like tons of different ways how to utilize this. It's an ideal place to run your R&D, to do and execute like user tests for your products or services, and really see and put all the kind of a big data there to do some kind of a people flow calculations and heat maps and whatnot. And it actually, as discussed, it actually enables metaverses. It enables visualization of different services or your company's products, or you can create new business on top of it. It obviously creates opportunities for game and entertainment industry, but it also is also like enables simulations for like strategy simulations for defense industry and whatnot. And I'm currently working in maritime industry as a head of digitalization, and there I already actually had a call with the Cesium about how can we bring this data to offshore to start like simulating how to navigate and doing stuff like that with real life latitude longitude data and stuff like that, and we're taking it further here. And now it's like we used to have this kind of problem that every time when you want to create some kind of an experience, you need to start from creating the world where it all takes place. And now you have the whole earth. It's totally up to you now. The rest is up to you. So it's totally up to you now to start creating those value-adding use cases, because you have no excuse to waste the time on creating how you can have that world. You have it. It takes half an hour using these incredible tools. And that's it. This was pretty quick. If you use a camera, you can follow those QR codes to have those videos. But at this point, I really want to thank Unreal Engine people. I want to thank Cesium, OGC, and of course you guys, and Alex, to bring me to this platform. And if you have any questions regarding what I did, you can always send me email or contact me via LinkedIn or watch more videos on Facebook.com/NetfreakVR. That's all. Back to Alex or Mutu.
All right. First of all, Sami, thanks a lot. You were super awesome when I reached out to you to share the blog on GeoAwesomeness. And there were a few questions for you. Do you mind leaving up your contact details so that
sure.
A couple of seconds more?
Yeah, no worries.
Because I'm guessing none of them have been checking their Twitter or doing something on the site.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, there was a question for you. So let's maybe take it. It's actually a pretty interesting question. So when you brought the model into the viewport, where did you put the space coordinates? And how did you set them?
Yeah, I started with the Helsinki-Vantaa Airport, the runway. Can't remember which one, but I put the kind of a 0 point there, and I put the aircraft there, and there it was. Because I wanted to have the kind of Helsinki in the center point, because it was the whole idea originally to play games here, not somewhere like elsewhere.
Okay, then let's take the second question. So what are the limitations in terms of concurrence in a single shardless environment?
Let me can somehow rephrase that, like.
Okay, we can ask Sean to you.
Yeah.
Can you rephrase
like
that?
Give more chat? like more context on that.
Okay. Sean, if you're still in the call, then you might want to rephrase it. If not, in the meantime, I guess, Sami, since it's your first GeoAwesomeness event and hopefully will be the first of many, there is a small tradition that I actually skipped today. Usually Alex is the one who's asking the first question. And in order not to disappoint him, I let him ask all the questions that he has in his mind.
No, guys, thanks, Vudu. No worries about it. No harm here. But I would say that rather than a question, maybe a comment from a geospatial guy in geospatial industry, because, like, frankly speaking, I never really, I was never thinking, like, prior to really reading and learning all about this, that creating 3D worlds could be actually disconnected from what I understand as geospatial technology, that these objects were not actually mapped. And for me, this connection was actually a big shock. So this is really, I mean, everything that I've seen on the on games that I at this stage probably unfortunately used to play. That this was not mapped, but this was created by graphic designers, and this was really, like, shocking. So for me, what we were discussing today is actually kind of a very natural thing, where I would imagine that the industry should have gone long time ago. So I would love to learn more how you used to do things, like, prior to Cesium for Unreal, and, like, prior to, if you wanted to map, like, your neighborhood or Helsinki or whatever and use it in a game. How did you actually do that? But I guess that we could spend the entire evening, or perhaps even a week, discussing it.
Maybe on that note, a short update regarding the rest of the time. So once Sami gets the opportunity to answer the questions, then I will invite Seshan to come on the stage and answer hopefully a few of the remaining 17 questions. So we have time for us to continue to network at least for another 10-15 minutes. So keep the chat going, and yeah, just enjoy yourself. Yeah. Sorry, Sami, I just wanted to make a short
No worries, no worries.
So the question was, it was very slow and heavy. How did you do it?
Yeah, it was very slow, and but now to the point. So basically, like, you are more from the graphic design industry rather than from geospatial industry, right? So the question is, how do you see that from your end?
Well, I'm more actually from the kind of concept design point of view to like really create the design services that help people or businesses to after their goals with different kind of solutions, like and using R&D to find those tools to meet those criteria. But this is actually the first real tool to really harness the real world coordinates together with the 3D environment like Unreal Engine world and put them together. Because I have had lots of like challenges back in the days to figure out this how I should do it. For example, I have had like lots of like different applications running on iOS to harness the AR and how to actually like do the kind of a Pokemon game. So you can actually now do the Pokemon game using Cesium or whatever on AR. So it's a kind of it enables real life world, and then it's totally up to you where you're about to use it, whether it is a entertainment or like really in core of your business.
Yeah, so this is true, and like from my perspective, I see really I would say, a social value of this. So now I can imagine that I could actually go out with my son, take a drone, do a 3D mapping of the neighborhood, and then actually create a game together.
Exactly, yeah. And what you can use, what this is a kind of perfect kind of tool is aviation industry. They have this thing called as situational awareness, that they, even though you don't have direct access or line of sight to the actual place or planes or gates, you can have the big picture, what's going on there, just like staring at your virtual real world and mapping the real data of some plane there in real time. So that creates kind of a security, and that creates increased safety and whatnot, and that can also be brought to the maritime industry, that you can see, well, tankers and Suez Canal stuff and all that kind of stuff, and then make your decisions based on data, based on knowing things and seeing things, instead of like some other. Because I'm a pretty visual guy, I love I have kind of this, I can easily digest data if it's visual, but if I need to start reading this amount of text, I go blind. So I really love this kind of what Nadine saying, seeing is believing. So this is one major enabler to do just that.
Yeah.
Okay, there were a few questions for you, Sami. So I have to admit that they are rather technical, so you're going to enjoy them. So generating LOD version.
Let me maybe turn off my cam also, and maybe Shazam, could you also join the stage, because you may also contribute answers.
Sure. So maybe let's. Hey, Shazam, nice to see you again. Seems like it was a long time ago, but it was an hour ago. So Sami, generating LOD version of the Helsinki city.
Well, first of all, when I was using these open source blocks or tiles from City of Helsinki, I had to do that. Or actually, of course, Unreal Engine did that for me. But when I used Cesium plugin, I didn't have to care about those things. Somehow Cesium had created kind of a good job for letting me to just ignore those things, LODs.
Okay, before we,
I don't know how it goes, actually.
So maybe before we go on to the second half of the question, Shashan, do you want to give us a bit of the magic? What do you guys do to get rid of the LOD version?
Yeah, so we do a few different things based on the data. So for Cesium World Terrain, which spans the entire globe, we combine a variety of different open data sources. So these are local, state, city governments across the world into a single data source. So that's what you saw in Sami's demo. There is also an additional Helsinki photogrammetry dataset, which I believe was captured in 2017. That is available for you to, I believe they have it hosted on their servers and streaming to Cesium.js, that you can also try out in Cesium. And potentially, because that data is under a Creative Commons license, you can bring that into Cesium Ion as well.
Okay, then second part of the question was, how did you do it in the first OPJ version of the flat map simulation?
Yeah. I downloaded all those tiles that I needed. I can't remember how many, but it was a huge amount of data. And then I imported those OPG files to Unreal Engine one by one, and they were like offline already, inbuilt to the build. So they weren't streaming over network.
Fantastic. So Sean had a question that we were not able to understand earlier.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
He writes now saying he wants to understand. Building a game simulation.
Yeah. I actually have a question about this session, because I started to create Metaverse to on top of Cesium, and I realized that it has a starting point where your horizon is valid. It's good, but if at the same time I spawn the player other side of the globe, he is actually same way rotated that I am. So there needs to be some kind of a way to fix that. I don't know how to do that, but the laws of multiplayer are totally same here than in any other Unreal Engine games. So it's inbuilt to the engine. It takes care of all that stuff. You don't have to care about, but just like designing what elements you want to replicate over the network.
Stefan, do you want to answer it?
Yeah, Sami hit the nail on the head on the second part of his answer, where because the rendering is happening on, for example, when I did the demo, it was on my computer. When Sami did the demo, it was on his computer. The data is coming in, and we are rendering it on our computers. It's no different to how you play a multiplayer game. There are, of course, some nuances, like Sami mentioned about, if within the same game you want to spawn different actors at different locations across the world, we are still working on improving that scenario, but it's certainly something we'll be looking into.
All right. So I'm going to just go through the questions one by one with an eye on the time. But if you guys want to chat with each other and geek out over it, totally go for it. I'm more or less just trying to organize. I love it when two of the speakers can interact and like discuss these things. This is what I enjoyed doing in in-person events, and I can't replicate that, but we try our best. This is a question for you, I believe, Shashank. But you have to pardon me because there were so many questions, so I'm pretty sure I kind of lost it in the way somewhere. Can you share an how-to video on the mixed reality user experience tools that you were showing us earlier?
Yeah, so this comes from NVIDIA GTC, which was about 10 days ago. Cesium, Microsoft, Epic Games, and NVIDIA did a joint session on how to stream geospatial data into HoloLens 2 using Azure servers and NVIDIA GPUs. And that used a mixed reality toolkit. It was Epic who did this, who created the demo and the HoloLens application around it. Albin, if he's on the chat, can probably provide more information, but we do see definitely a pathway into creating a how-to video and a tutorial to show how to build not just mixed reality toolkit with HoloLens 2, but also other platforms like Android, Quest, and other platforms that come with all the goodness of Unreal Engine.
Okay, fantastic. So this is more a general question, I guess. Maybe Sami, do you want to answer it, or did you not have to do it because all of it was done for you with the Cesium plugin?
Which tool would you use to convert 3D images, point clouds into 3D tile? Well, in this case, I didn't have to pay attention to this thing because it was there by default because of Cezanne and his team and this plugin.
So what tool did you use, Shashank? Was it the one that you guys built or another one?
A shameless plug for a cloud service called Cesium Ion, where all of these pipelines are available to you, so you just have to upload your data. But if there's a specific format that you're looking for that we may not already support, best thing is to reach out to us at community.cesium.com, our community forum, and let us know what formats you're interested in.
Okay, I guess if Andy is on the call, then she can also post it in the chat. If not, we will make sure that either Shashank or I post it in the chat so that you guys have a link.
It's right now the featured action. So if you click Cesium Community Forum in the bottom right of the screen, you take that.
Fantastic. Thank you for highlighting that. So this is an interesting question because we've been talking all evening about kind of opening up new worlds. Do you see this replacing existing GIS systems? Or
yes, I think 2D GIS information is important. Absolutely, we are definitely looking to support open data formats, KML, GeoJSON down the road. Probably later in 2021, but timeline is TBA. Whether they replace existing GIS systems, I don't know. I don't think I can predict that right now, especially in the 2D use cases, just because those are so entrenched. So for example, one quick example I can give of everyday lives. If we use Google Maps for driving directions, how much does that get improved if it's in 3D while driving? So it's like, some use cases are better suited to 2D, And I don't think there is always a case for needing to migrate that. So it really depends on the use case. But there are obvious use cases, such as in defense or in simulation, where taking that flat map and creating 3D version of it immediately adds 10 times more value to what we can do with it.
All right, fantastic. So let's maybe take one last question, because I'm checking the time and it's been 1 hour and 54 minutes. I heard the golden rule for concentration is 2 hours, so we are very close to that. So, and as you can see already, my brain is starting to get very slow.
So, Muthu, if I can pick one question.
Sure. There you go.
Well, you picked the right one. This combines with Omri's question about, is there a layer separation between building sparks and etc. So what we see happening is, and Mark and Patrick and Nadine touched on it a little bit in their panel, that there is land use data which classifies the entire world into forests, cities, building, roads, and all of that. We definitely see a path towards being able to use land use data with Unreal Engine, with Cesium World Terrain, to procedurally create more realistic environments. So, for example, if you had land use data for a forest or a river, you could automatically, procedurally use Unreal Engine's tools to create trees and water simulation around it. So, yeah, definitely something we're looking into.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Session. Thanks, Sami. I guess I have to really thank you a lot for taking the time and for explaining all of this. Nadine, if you are still in the call, I would be very delighted if you can join us for just a short second. And I'm not sure if Patrick and Mark are here, but I nevertheless think that you are going to love this question. So, after all of these discussions, and Alex will join us shortly to summarize it, this is what Oliver had to say. All of these tools and all of these conversations has reinvigorated my passion for geospatial. I guess this was one of your biggest dreams, right, at the beginning of this event. So just wanted to let you know that the 5 of you, so Sami, Patrick, Nadine, and Mark and Seshan, you guys managed to bring the geo back into the awesomeness. So just wanted to share this with you.
Yes, thank you. And you organized the event. Thank you. You brought the
anytime
back. Thanks. Thank you.
Anytime. All right. Alex, do you want to get back and kind of summarize what we learned today and where we are going to be meeting next?
Absolutely, and I must say that this was really amazing event, and probably the best thing that we could do to celebrate our 10th anniversary. Really, really happy that we've done it this way, and with such people, with Nadine, with Patrick, with Mark, with Shazam, with Sami. This was really awesome, and I guess that looking at the chat, our community also enjoyed it a lot, and we've learned about really what is the convergence or intersection between game engines and geospatial technologies, something that is not obvious for the industry, and something that we do not often learn about and do not often discuss about. But the applications that we will need to learn as geospatial developers, as people working with geospatial technologies, how can we utilize the game engines to provide kind of the real world experience and the applications we can build on the top of it to support a lot of different use cases. And we are supporting, as part of our 10th anniversary, humanitarian organizations that are doing a lot of mapping for good, like Map Action and humanitarian OpenStreetMaps, and I see a lot of different applications that where these guys could really benefit from such a interaction between the technologies and the visualization. And as Nadine said, I mean, seeing is believing. So this is true, and it can make a lot of good things happening and convincing a lot of unconvinced people. So this is a key takeaway for me. I invite all of you to follow us on Geosomeness, follow the blog, connect with us on LinkedIn. We love to geek out on geospatial technologies. And join us for our next events. We are discussing every couple of weeks totally different geospatial things, like real-time threat mapping. Yeah, so really happy to have you guys here today. This was really awesome. And yeah, that's it from me. Mutu.
All right. I guess we are in between many people and a break. First of all, I wanted to say thanks to all 5 and also to another superstar who's behind the entire event, Andy. Thanks a lot. The event would have not been possible with you. So if you're still in the chat, thank you. One thing that Alex and I would like to mention as a closing remark is that we do these events mainly for the fun of it. So we are spending our evenings and free time on the blog and the platform. And we are always open for more of you to join the team and to network and shape your own careers just as much as we have done. And one thing that keeps us going is your feedback. So in a second, I will also pop up the link for you to take the time to give us your feedback and let us know what you think. And we will be sharing the chat and also the videos with you in the next hour or so. So thanks a lot for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed it just as much as we did. We could not have wished for a better start for the second decade of GeoAwesomeness. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys.